It is that time again, dear viewers. We return for another round of Auto Racing Connected's Endurance Championship, presented by DIVEBOMB. That's the dirt. We are getting right into things. I thought I was going to have time to really properly introduce the stream, but no, we are getting right into tonight's event, the 60 Minutes of Barcelona. There's a consolation race going on for cars that have DNQ'd from this event, but nevertheless, for our 15 competitors here, 7 hypercars, 8 GTs, the formation lap is underway. Although, I was going to say, although nobody seems to know. There we go, we are mobile. 7 hypercars, 8 GTs this time, for the sake of making the consolation race work. But points are scored down to, like, I think 16th, so winning the consolation race is just about the same as being 8th in the main race. I'm already seeing a couple of liveries that don't make sense. Oh yeah, I should probably get the information on the screen. I only just noticed that, oh, names. Darius, who I was still not given any kind of introduction on how to pronounce his last name, so apologies on that, has the incorrect DIVEBOMB logo, or not the wrong logo, but he has the wrong number board and the wrong, window banner. And same goes for Marcus Snow, who did not appear last round at Daytona. And he's running effectively an outdated car. It looks like it would have been just the same thing he drove in Group 3 Masters last season. Seems everything else is correct except for Alexis Heredia, who took the pole in hypercars with 2 numbers. He's apparently the number 671, which feels like an affront both to nature and to myself, but it is a very different outlook as Matt Hall ends up taking 2nd in qualifying today. Dominic Kubinski really didn't have things go his way in qualifying by the looks of things. Last round's winner overall, starting 7th in hypercars, and then his teammate, I believe this is Scott Frederick. I'm gonna have to put that on my screen just so I don't get that lot mixed up a bunch. Because Scott Frederick and Holden Horn are 2 names I'm still kind of just getting used to because I had not met them prior to last week, pretty much. So it's a process. I'll get there eventually. Which one is our pole sitter? It is the 17. So yeah, this is Scott Frederick, pole sitter in GT after winning last round at Daytona, and the familiar Jonas Idkonen alongside him. But regardless of that, I guess we're separating the classes this time. Heredia is about to take us to the green flag. We are racing from Barcelona to Catalunya. And that is Matt Hall not paying any attention to when we were taking the green flag. AJ Knickel may be able to take 2nd from him right out the gate, with any luck. AJ this time is joined by his teammate Jackson Altman, who was also absent at Daytona. But, well, he's feeling his presence this time as Altman was actually temporarily down his inside. Kieran Kevern with doing more power sliding as his teammate behind him has already picked up a spot on Yoshi in the other Ferrari. But Heredia has made good on his escape plan from the green flag. Very close quarters. Kevern and Knickel getting right back to what they were doing at Daytona. Scratching paint jobs and everything. Down into the 7-8 chicane. Kevern was the big winner, but making corners like that isn't going to really help him stay in that position. And it is very close quarters for 3rd place, while the 2 leading hypercars attempt to escape. Meanwhile, in GT, nothing dramatic to report. Everybody's pretty much already single-filed out. Kubinsky is the first to pick up a time penalty in the event, so perhaps maybe evident of what also could have gone wrong in qualifying, but Matt Hall is right there on the back of Heredia. He's going to have some slipstream here. We'll see if he maybe makes a play for the race lead on the second lap of the event. He's certainly going to have a chance to. Down the inside goes the 4 car, and Alexis Heredia does not even put up too much of resistance to that. There's no point in it. We are 5 minutes into a 60-minute race. And being behind a car saves fuel, so, you know. Kevin also has grabbed himself a penalty, so both Nexus cars getting penalties, also getting turn 4 completely wrong. Dominic, despite the penalty, will try to find a way by AJ Knickel, but forced around the long way at turn 5. Chances are not high, and he will indeed not be able to do that there. AJ defends into 7 and 8. And now both Nexus cars will serve a half a second deceleration, which will basically net AJ 3rd place, and could even put Kubinsky back in range of Jackson Altman behind. Although perhaps not really. Quick checking with the GTs, and it is very much on for Stefan Robichaud versus Darius. Volvo versus Mercedes. That seems weird to even say that out loud, unless we're like doing German racing trucks or something. Not GT3 cars. Everything is very much settled out quickly. We do not have quite the same insane close quarters combat of Daytona, but that is not stopping Kevin from going all the way down the inside. Crossover administered. AJ Knickel will out-racecraft the man in the 54 car. Excuse me, I almost said 94. And will remain in 3rd for the time being. But something tells me that's not the last attack we will see from Nexus. Boriyoshi is just damaged and off pace. He may have had a mistake somewhere that I did not catch. I think it's probably about the only explanation. He's also on the mediums, which is probably contributing to his lack of pace. Meanwhile, Scott Frederick is making use of being one of fewer GT cars. It's actually an even split between the masses for tire compound for them, but only, oh, actually no, it's an even split between Hypers too, 3 and 4. But yo, sideways is already, he's on the mediums. That's probably how Matt Hall got the advantage that he did. And so it is in his best interest to get ahead and to not waste said tires. But with AJ versus Kieran fighting for 3rd on the same tire compound, that is, well, it's not something you want to do, but it is something they're going to have to do. They're going to have to fight over that, because that is obviously that is an important position to have. You know, everyone does say, you know, you can't win the race on lap 1, you know, don't go too aggressive early. There is always a case to be made for just, you know, it is a race. You want to be ahead of somebody. If you can do it, it's just a matter that you don't want to sink in too many resources or too much time into trying to get ahead. It's not worth the struggle until you get into the last, like, 3rd of the race, I'd say. Once we start to get past the 45 minute mark, then I would say it's a little more, you know, that's when the gloves really do come off and you are advised to start going crazy for it. Obviously don't wreck a guy for a spot, no really, duh, but you know, that's just the kind of give and take of racing. The further you get into the race, the more of an incentive you'll have to fight. But Heredia has absolutely zero incentive to fight. He is letting these cars on the quicker tires just go past. He is not wasting his effort, not wasting his tires on such affairs. Kevin sliding around like that is indeed wasting his tires. And yet somehow his tires are less worn than his teammates. They're on the same compound, and I think They're fighting too wide. They're nearly making contact on the exit of the final turn, but it is probably in Nexus's best interest to let Dominic go by. His tires are in marginally better shape, plus he just showed at Daytona that he's got some kind of pace that the other hypercars just could not match. It may be different here at Barcelona, but it's, you know, a team wants to put its best foot forward. Or off the track, my god, the Nexus cars are... We've gone from sliding all over the place to not sliding off of the racing surface. And Dominic is bringing that to its logical extreme, not even on the track on the exit of turn 5. That'll let Kieran and Altman overtake. Jerome Hudson is, okay, no, never mind. I was reading that he's not 57 seconds behind the next GT. He's just 57 seconds behind the leader. Marcus Snow, meanwhile, will attempt to out-drag Ravi Ganesh for, well, third from last, for 13th place. Ayrton Frederick, Logan Cool, and Joel Grant were the DNQ GTs for this event. Likewise, some big shocks came about from the DNQing prototypes in Adam Pelk, Luke Allen, and Deshaun Davis. So ECR completely out of this race, despite having 3 drivers attempt to make the field across both categories. None of them succeeded. None of them have made the main race. They're all in the consolation fighting for table scraps. And Luke Allen, also a very large shock. So 2 long-time veterans in ARC just driven away at the behest of faster unknown integers such as Dominic Kubinski and even Alex Heredia, who was not around at Daytona. But it's very obvious that he has some severe pace if he's able to take pole position, even if his 31.3 at the moment betrays that. Give it a handful of laps and that 6 car is going to be the fastest one on the track. He just has to wait for the soft tires to, you know, stop being the fastest tires on the track. Had a dog moment. We do have a fight for second in GT. Itkonen is under major threat from Stefan Robichaud on the softer tires. Obviously, as a medium runner, you got the 2 ways of looking at it. It's either, hey, that guy's not on my strategy. I don't really feel like wasting my time fending that off. And the other way to look at it is, this guy's not on my strategy, but he's going to be faster right now, and if I get in his way, I'm losing him time. And in the long run, it will be helpful to have done that to a driver who should be faster. So it really is just the approach of, do I want to be a major problem or do I not want to be? Also, holy cow! Scott Frederick is abusing that left front tire. And yeah, it's getting him a decent lead, but that's going to come back to haunt him later. As he goes even a little wide on the final turn. Oh, cavernous sideways. He was attempting to close in under... Or no, actually he was probably just recently overtaken by Jackson Altman, as AJ is attempting to close in on race leader Matt Hall. But AJ himself is not being terribly kind to his left front either. I had heard reports that the hypercar class was definitely going through some understeering issues here at Catalunya, and I think the shape of most of their left front tires, at least the ones that are on softs, is definitely a testament to that fact. Especially Kubinski. Not only is he not showing even half of the pace he had at Daytona, but his left front tire is just screaming in agony, we'll say. There's not much tire left there to be screaming at him, I'll also say. Robichaud's still not able to find anything concrete to try and throw at the Lexus driver ahead. It may not be losing him too much time, though. It really just depends. He may see losing a handful of tenths in the dirty air as being worth saving fuel and going a bit longer on this run, especially in direct comparison to the Lexus, whose strongest suit, as I would know from experience, is just unusual fuel economy, considering that it is still a V8 powered machine. Scott Frederick will now head into the pits. He will be the first car to do so, pitting from the GT category lead. And I imagine that one of his hypercar teammates in Kubinski will not be too far behind him in that either. He may be in this lap, and if he's not in this lap, he's probably going to be on the next. Otherwise, I don't think his softs will go any further than that. And there goes the 72, indeed diving down the pit lane. Lexus cars, the Porsches, all struggling with tire wear, struggling with track limits, just all around is struggling at this current moment, but there's still 44 minutes left to change their fortune. They just have to, not lose their marbles. As Matt Hall is about to lap the other Nexus Porsche, the Holden Horn. Relatively simple. Maybe lost a bit of time into turn 4, but that's not really the worst thing for Matt Hall, especially since, okay, maybe it is the worst thing for Matt Hall. AJ Knickel is closer than I thought he'd be after getting around the Porsche for himself. And of a bounce over the curbing there, as they're not both catching up to the Volvo of Darius, who will pull aside and let the race leader go. And AJ just about able to get himself down the inside to get by without too many issues and continue his pursuit of the Ferrari. But his tire is not going to let him pursue for too much longer. Meanwhile, Matt Hall has been amongst the GT, but also amongst even the hypercars. He's been relatively good on his tires. Also, yes, he is racing viewer in chat. He's in 14th. That's a pit cycle thing. This was the race leader before going into the pit lane. So he is in the back, but he's trucking along. And that's, I guess, the most important thing in the Endurance Championship, is that he's here and he is on hand if something goes wrong for, say, Robbie Ganesh or for Marcus Snow. What was I about to say? Matthew. Matt Hall has gained a little bit of breathing room over Knickel, the Canadian driver, probably realizing that he may need to just bear down and make sure his tires can go as long as he needs them to. Yeah, Hudson attempted to make the race at Daytona last week, but he was snuffed out by a qualifying shootout after he already had almost missed the race entirely due to some error on the administration's part of, well, just forgetting to invite him to the party. And then he was unable to get the lap time he needed to make the show. He was the slowest qualifying driver here at Barcelona as well. It was very tight between himself and two other GT contestants, but he managed to get in at a track that supposedly front-engine cars would struggle at. He got in over a Corvette, a Lexus, and an NSX driven, ironically, by the team that I run in the series. Yeah, we do have, my team, Nuclear Fusion Racing, does have an entry, by the way, in both Hypercar and GT, but Logan Taylor, our Hypercar driver, has yet to appear at either of these races, and Logan Cool only got the 10th fastest time in GT in the NSX. But there are a lot of races in the season by law of averages, especially when attendance starts to get a little lower near the end of the series, at the end of a season, because that's just kind of how league racing tends to work. Interest lost, drivers feeling their championship hopes are dashed, not seeing the same motivation they had at the start, and then also just random miscellaneous things that prevent somebody from making it to a race that they wanted to be at. Although he has now just left the room, I'm unclear as to why, but he is... Jerome Hudson has now exited the race, perhaps a mechanical failure. AJ Knuckle will now concede that his tires have gone as far as they can take him. He has reached the third distance mark, so strategy-wise, that does seem like a decent number to achieve. So, well, let us not question. Kieran Kevern, his rival from Daytona, will also do the same. The Boryoshi on the medium tires, the third gladiator from last week, has no need for a pit stop just yet. Soon enough, we'll see all the drivers that were on softs on the mediums, and vice versa with the medium starters running softs at probably the second half of the race. So strategies play out as, just typical endurance racing fare. You don't really have an endurance race if you don't have strategy in there somewhere, right? Even for an hour race, it feels like there's probably more varied strategies in this race than in Daytona, where everybody was just, get the medium run out early, and then everybody just kind of did softs because the tire wear at Daytona was nothing compared to what it is here in Spain. I mean, yes, but at Barcelona, at Catalunya, whatever terminology you want to use to describe this track. You want to go by its technical name or just call it Spain, because that is indeed where it is, but that's more of F1 logic. And, well, you can't tell by the fact that their cars have fenders. This is not that. That is broadcasted on a different day of the week. And not by me. Not these days, anyway. That's, meanwhile, the tire excuse me, breakerism. The tire deficit is starting to reel Heredia back in towards the lead. Matt Hall will soon be ill-prepared to keep that, whatever manufacturer this is. I think it's a Cadillac. It's hard to tell, considering there is no logo anywhere on the vehicle. I think it'll be a little embarrassing if this car wins. I must be brutally honest, simply because I don't even know what manufacturer it is. I don't know. I know it's CL7, which is the only reason I assume it's a Cadillac, but it doesn't have any of the right logos on the car. DIVEBOMB logo, not even the ARC logo. It has two different numbers on it, and the number that it doesn't have is the one that's on the side of the car. You have to look at the hood number. And that just isn't really how it works in any motorsport discipline. It's darn near universal that pretty much every other prototype has their number where that 71 is, but he's registered as the 6, so... But he's about to register in Matt Hall's rearview mirrors as well. He might get slipstream by the end of the straightaway, but it's obviously not going to do enough. As they come up on Ravi Ganesh for the second time in the race. Super holds the inside lane, and they'll both go around the outside pretty easily, because that's just kind of how this works. Oh, can you tell there's a Mazda nearby? It's like a miniature 787B, pocket sized. It's like a 393 or something. Yeah, the different pit strategies does mean that at the current moment the race is really spread out, as some drivers have pit and others haven't. But we do have, I guess this would be a relatively important overtake to make for AJ. They are kind of on the same strategy, but they're not on the same timing window. But either way, this is AJ trying to make an overtake on last round's winner. And doesn't seem to be making too much progress on that at the moment. Heredia is definitely getting slipstream at the current moment, though. He's going to be not quite within range, though, by the end of the straightaway, unless he's a maniac and decides to send it from 4.5 tenths, which I would certainly hope not. Jackson Altman pits a little earlier than I had expected him to. He had 17 liters of fuel left, or 17% of his fuel left, and his tires weren't even half dead, but he is changing them nonetheless. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall for that strategy and was just like, okay, I need to be getting faster lap times than this, although the lap time fall off wasn't really that severe. I'm not sure. I'm sure all things have an answer, and we'll just see the answer for that one later, but AJ Kinnickle down the inside of Kubinski. He didn't really fight it too hard anyway. Not that he really could fight it too hard, considering the situation he had put himself in, that he had been in at that point. But now I think Heredia is going to want to fight. He was pretty docile when Hall and Kinnickle went around him earlier, but he was just saving his resources for later on. And, well, 26 minutes into the race, it is indeed later on. He's going to pit first. Matt Hall is going to take his softs an extra lap over Heredia. That is interesting. I guess he is out of fuel, though. Whilst Matt Hall has probably been able to save fuel since he has been in the lead, and he's been able to just run on a lower fuel mix. I can't even say it's a difference in vehicle, because they're all running the same car underneath all of the stickers, so Heredia must have been pushing his fuel to try and make up the difference. He lost in tire wear, and it just ended up being a net loss. Is that a big bump from Kubinski? It wasn't intentional, I'm certain. Some people just brake, some people let off for that, especially in a hypercar at the speeds we're going, and the speeds they can take that at, so he didn't pass him. Basically just an inconvenience and a bunch of smoke kicked up into the air. Jackson Altman is also flanking Kubinski, so he is in a sandwich of Division 47 cars, but that is AJ really missing turn 1. I'm surprised the game didn't accost him for that, all things considered. Now Heredia is on the soft tires, and I don't think Scott Hall will be leaving the pit lane in the lead. I'm just going to be completely upfront about that. But he'll be within range, I would say. It's going to be about a net even, but he's going to probably be on the mediums here. Oh, he's going to crash into the pit wall. Oh, that's not... He's definitely not exiting in first place now, as Yoshi is incredibly sideways. That's his teammate around there. For the briefest of moments, we've had an FR Racing 1 too. That would have made perfect sense when Brid 1 Hansa was still a full-time driver, but here, especially after what the race was like for Daytona, that would have been a pipe dream, as Yoshi blinks his way around some GT traffic. Heredia needs only to survive the rest of his lap, and he'll be taking the lead, as Matt Hall... the game, I think, will actually fix that damage while he's in the pit lane. And yeah, he's nowhere near after that. He's going to lose second. He's going to lose probably third. He's going to lose fourth. He's going to lose... He might even lose fifth to... no, he won't lose. He won't be in last. I mean, net fifth, obviously, because Boryoshi hasn't pit. He has been the strategy specialist. He could split the race in half, but that wouldn't help him any, because soft tires, there's no way they could go that far, and he's about to run out of fuel. It'd be an interesting call if he decides to just refuel and take off. The mediums could definitely do another 18-20 laps by the looks of him, but he will at some point have to get on the soft tires for the mandatory requirements. take some refreshment while there's nothing going on. Although there definitely is something going on. We have a 3-car battle. Jackson Altman overtook Kubinski when I wasn't looking, so that is a whoopsie on my part. I don't think with the difference in tires, both wear and compound, that he'll be able to do much to try and take that spot back from Altman. I was going to call him by number, and then I missed the number on the car. Is that a 21, I think? What is that number? Am I dumb? That is a 21. Wait, so there's 2 21 cars in both categories. That's... I don't think that was allowed. Also, both Vision cars getting a penalty at the exact same time. That will probably not hurt AJ too much, but it will allow Kubinski to go back past Jackson Altman, specifically, if he can stay close enough. But the GT traffic may not account for that. May be too obstructive, although he is able to just take a clean lane around both of them. Snow and Ganesh have been pretty close to each other the whole race, but I don't think they've swapped places that many times. It's just been that every time I followed a hypercar as it laps them, it's been them. I haven't actually really checked in on the GT race too much as of late, but that's probably because there really hasn't been much of a race between them. Scott Frederick is back in the lead after his early pit stop, but his mediums are already kind of starting to give way a little bit. So, while Itkonen is on completely pretty much darn near fresh soft tires. Soft tires. There we go. I got there. Soft tires. Yeah, double plural. The tires belong to Soft, whoever that is. And he will have to let Yoshi through. Never mind, he will not, because Yoshi is pitting. He has also clobbered the pit wall. FR Racing really making an enemy out of that barrier, and, well, Heredia will be back into the lead on the basis of that, and he's not going to have much competition at the moment. His closest rival is Jackson Altman, 6.5 seconds away. And they're running about the same lap time, so I don't expect that distance to close much. AJ Knickel has once again made an error at T1 and 2, and that allows Kubinski to re-overtake, despite his tires being much more worn out, and despite having a half-second deceleration coming up on the back straightaway. But if he can get just a good 5, 7, 8, 9, he might be able to just offset that deceleration and stay in third. I don't think so, but it's not impossible. Don't think so. No. He's gonna have to scramble to get out of the way. He can go back down the inside. He can fight it. He's got the inside lane because he pulled over right before it and kinda nudged Knickel off the circuit. Not the first time these two have made contact, though the first time wasn't even really meaningful at all. But that time I think had a little more behind it. That could also just been lag. Maybe they never even made contact on their screens. Oh, Darius is being mugged. AJ Knickel is going to take full advantage. He's going to use the Volvo as a pick. That is a sentence I've never spoken in my life. They both overtake Robichaud in the Vision AMG. Kubinski attempts a crossover, but he cannot find a lane or any kind of route through turn 1 and 2 to try and attack the 47 car. The gap between Altman and Heredia is slowly narrowing. Oh, and when Heredia oversteers like that, it'll help. May just be a lap traffic thing, though, that's caused that on Heredia's end. He does have to just overtake, I believe, the GT leader of Scott Frederick just there, so he will have plenty of clean track ahead of him. I mean plenty of it. The nearest car to that location is in turn 4, 3, 4. Yep, numbers. I'm very good at them, if you can't tell. That, and also, you know, Altman has to now pass that Porsche himself, and He could have an easier time with it. I don't think he'll actually get up to him until the front straightaway here in a minute. So he will have an easier time. He'll get slipstream off of the Porsche for good measure. He'll actually go on board, because that camera does work again. I had a weird bug at the last round, but we will go on board with Jackson Altman. We'll see if he can do anything about that just shy of 6-second gap. He is going crazy with the downshifts into 1. But ultimately, I don't think there's much to look at for that just up at the front of that category right now. There really isn't anything going on. We do have Darius slowly gaining on Stefan Roberschat, who's found himself removed from his previous opposition of, I believe he was fighting Itkonen at one point, but I'm not positive on that. And even Snow and Ganesh have split up along the way, although, well, as you can tell by the tire difference, I don't think Ganesh will be on the track too much longer before that Racing soft tires about had enough of him. And that's a penalty for Altman. He must have gotten it out of turn 9, or else he would have gotten the deceleration on the back straightaway, so that is going to only further separate him from his opponent all the way up there. When he crests the hill, it'll basically be a golden dot that is just simply out of reach for him. Now on top of everything else, he's got less fuel, his tires are more worn, and the distance is just growing as Heredia puts in the fastest lap of the race. He will break into the 29s on race pace alone. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. And his teammate isn't actually getting any closer to him either. AJ Knickel's running mid-31s to Altman's all over the place. But he's got bigger fish to fry. He's got the 72 filling his mirrors at the moment, so... Missing turn 10 will not help AJ's case as he tries to stay ahead of that 72 car either. Still going to have, I think, one more pit stop for most, if not all, of the field. So pit cycle should maybe, it could shake things up. Oh my god, he's running even faster to 29.8. Yeah, his tires aren't even really going to start actually reducing in pace for another 2 or 3 laps, I'd say. So we could be on par for another 29 from him here, too. 10th and a half, almost 2 tenths down on his personal best, though. Scott Frederick, though, will be pitting, and that will give Itkonen the lead, but that car is not making it to the end without a pit stop either, so... Robichaud's tires could, but his fuel won't, but Itkonen's tires won't either. The story is mostly the same for the Volvo of Darius. His medium tires would be fine at the end of the race, but his fuel tank is at half. But Frederick will be the first to complete his fuel strategy. He'll be on his way out of the pit box with 11 and a half minutes to go. And now he'll just kind of have to sit around and wait to see if the lead falls back into his possession when all the other cars pit. It should, by my very haphazard calculations. Ooh, Dominic is sideways as all get out. That was a real tank slapper if ever I saw the definition of the word. is really nothing to report in the hypercar category. Yoshi just gives it going in a huge shove out of the final turn. But that could have also been lag. Darius is attempting still to get up to the back of the AMG, but they have just kind of held station at about 1 to 1.5 seconds off of the AMG for, well, at least every time I've looked at the two cars, that's about been the deficit. I guess it's just that part of the endurance race. We just kind of got to settle in and let the rain fall, metaphorically speaking. Rain falling on the track would certainly be an unexpected twist, especially since it's physically unable to do that at Barcelona, because GT7 is 85% of a video game, and everybody knows it, but we're just done talking about it at this point because everybody knows it. The sun's definitely going down, obviously. About this weather we're having? I had reading good books lately. Ooh, that's the wrong gear for the Volvo. It's gonna go quite wide on the exit of 10. That's gonna lose him over a second to Robichaud, who very clearly had a very good turn 10. Much needed breathing room for the 06 car. Gabinski is out of the pits in last out in the category, but now is the only prototype with enough fuel and tires to make it to the finish line. Maybe Yoshi could get there if he really stretched his resources thin, but he's going to have to go so slowly for that Kubinski would very easily overtake. But he is also an entire minute behind the race leader, and that is definitely not the pit delta here at Catalunya. It seems more like about 25 seconds to me. Marcus, you got your hazards on. Altman and Heredia's tires are reaching the end of their life expectancy, but AJ, well, he'll need fuel to go to the end, but not tires. But he might want to put soft tires on anyway, just for the added pace. I think that'll benefit him when he's going in probably with about 15 to go, or maybe a little less than 15 minutes to go, because he has less fuel than the two leaders that are ahead of him, but their tires are going to give out before their gas tanks do, and that much is very clear. They're also going to start losing lap time due to the wear of those tires at about this point. Even Heredia just ran a 32.4, but Altman responds with a 31.7 in a deceleration penalty. So he gained like 7/10, but he's just going to lose it immediately. And AJ is just going to choose to pit now with what little remains of his fuel tank. But yeah, he gets on the softs from here. That'll take him directly to the end, and he's going to have to do the smallest amount of tire saving, but it's not going to be anything major in the realm of losing time for doing so. It's just gonna have to be just a case of don't be a fool. Matt Hall will follow him in spite of having plenty of fuel and tires to go to the distance. Not go the distance, he can't get to the end, but he can get further. But this is probably about the time you want to get onto another pair of soft tires and head to the end, but Hall does not do that. Okay, no, never mind. He did do that. That was just weird desync because of the pit exit. Also, oh yeah, no, he pit a while ago, Riker. Who was the other car that was up here? Roboshot, he just pit. He's on his out lap. Let's see if he manages to get more distance away from Darius, or if the Volvo will actually get more time on him on his out lap. Hopefully he wasn't trying to pit there, because that was not an option for the Volvo. Ed Conan in for his final stop as well. With 15 minutes to go, he will hit his marks in the pit box, and by hit his marks, I mean the game will drive him into his marks for him. Jackson Altman pits, but Heredia remains on the track. His tires obviously like minusculely less worn than Altman's, so he can just kind of go that touch further. Kevin is out of fuel. Everybody make a stop. Unless your name is Dominic Kubinski, in which case you are, assuming you don't just absolutely shred the left front on that tire, or left front tire on that car, excuse me, he will be getting to the checkered flag without another pit stop. But now just a matter of picking up the pieces of the field in front of him to make it worth that. Nickel rejoins the circuit just behind Boryoshi with presumably the exact amount of fuel he needs to go to the finish. Only half the tank. So that means that Yoshi is also probably fine to make it to the end, but he will need his tires saved to do that. In which case he will lose all the time he gained from not making another pit stop, so, you know, just pick your poison. And I believe the final, oh, that's the wall. Already got a taste of FR Racing's medicine, but not nearly as badly. I don't think that's going to cost him too much, considering he just kind of bounced off of it. But if the game decides it needs to fix his damage, that is going to lose him 2 or 3 seconds as well. So it's not the dream is not completely over for Jackson Altman, but he's going to have to really clock in some super laps. He's getting no time for 31s now. Second he gets by his GT teammate there, he's going to have to floor it if he wants any hope of taking the win away from the 671 car. Reddy is on his way out of the box, getting up to speed. Altman has taken the start-finish line. The deficit is going to be about 5 seconds when everything settles out and he gets out of turn 1 and 2. So very much down from 9.5 that it was before. Probably because I think the game did decide to fix Heredia's damage in the pit lane and the fact that he, well, gave himself the damage by hitting something in the first place. AJ Kaneko has overtaken Boryoshi, and considering the tire difference, I imagine that was probably just, you know, a formality more than anything. But he's going to want to lose him quickly, because Yoshi will probably force the issue late if he somehow sticks with him, despite the difference in tires. And Kubinski's tires aren't doing a whole lot better, so he's not going to really have much of an answer to AJ Kaneko. He will maybe be able to get up to Yoshi if he really uses the pace he had at Daytona, but he's not really found that today. He did run a 29.7 at the start of this stint, but then again, AJ himself ran a 29.6. Heredia himself may even find more speed. God knows, he could maybe pull like a 4 out of his back pocket. As the battle for the lead is rather tight between GT. I just noticed that as they were being lapped by the prototype leader. That is only a second and change between Jonas and Scott Frederick for the GT lead. And that's going to intermingle with the hypercar battle, which is closing up. Heredia really had a bad time with traffic on that lap, but Altman's going to have to obviously deal with the same exact traffic cars, and they're not just going to lay over because they're about to fight themselves. But it looks like he only lost about a third of a second navigating them. He ran a 29.1 while Heredia, well, was on an outlap, so we don't really know what he was doing. But a 29.1 for Altman, a 29 flat for Knickel, as he makes his way past Scott Frederick down into 7 and 8. Suddenly Altman's got some threat from his own teammate back there, and remains to be seen if they decide to start throwing haymakers at the end. We could have if things go as calculated, and by as calculated I mean if Heredia doesn't just suddenly decide, hey look, 28-7 or something like that, we could have soon a 3-car battle for the win this time. I don't think Yoshi or Kubinski will be joining that though. And we are also going to have an overtake for the lead. Ikunen trying to run away with the spot over Scott Frederick, but Scott Frederick down the inside at the second to last turn. No decisive results there, but that's going to be a bit of momentum on the exit for the Lexus, plus some slipstream for good measure. Here comes Kubinski to lap the pair of them. Frederick moving to the inside, Kubinski getting slipstream off the pair of them. He's going to just take himself the long way around. We are 3 wide between 2 different categories. It'll all clear out before the corner, though, and Frederick will remain the leader, but he will miss turn 1. Ikunen capitalizes around the outside of 2. Lexus through turn 3. Category leader on track. Is there a response from the 911? There is not. Not yet. There's still time left. 9 minutes to go. There's a Ferrari prototype there. And that's just a taste, because we could still have a fight for the lead in hypercars as well. It's not there yet, but there's still 9 laps. There's still going to be 6 laps to go in the race by my count. And these two may not be done. We'll see if Frederick can formulate a response. He'll have his own slipstream on the back straightaway, but these cars are about even in terms of straight line performance. He's obviously not going to be close enough to do anything here into 10. He's just going to want to get a good run from the last 2 or 3 turns and just ship it all the way down to turn 1 and hope that the Porsche engine... I just noticed he's on mediums. That'd be why Ikunen was able to take advantage. He did soft medium, and it's hit him in the long... Or no, he's done soft medium, yeah, because he was really struggling with tire wear. So I don't think he will have a response. He's going to lose a bunch of time just in every corner because he's on the harder tires. And we're not going to get far enough into the race for the tire wear on the softs to catch up to Eunice. The deficit between the 3 hypercars is remaining about the same, just short of 3. 2.9 between Heredia and Altman. Very sideways Mazda. And another 2.9 between the Vision 47 teammates. Matt Hall will probably be getting close to one Dominic Kubinski in the near future. His soft tires, they in fact could not go the distance. He's going to have to pit for that. The Nexus team must be really running some lower wings or something, because their entire team has just been absolutely just brutalized by tire wear the whole way out, the whole way through. It's cost Scott Frederick a win in the category. It's dramatically held back Kubinski's race pace, which I'm not sure if it is there or not. Altman with a slowdown. That's not going to help anything. The ante is not quite where it was earlier in the race. AJ's 29 flat speed is replaced by a 32.7. There was definitely some traffic in play there. Traffic is probably what brought them within 3 seconds in the first place, and then Heredia ran a 30 flat. I don't really know. AJ must have missed a turn. I don't think traffic can cost you 2.5 seconds, unless you like straight up crashed into them, or he could be fuel saving. He may have made a miscalculation on the fuel, because that was part of his thing, was he tried to put in less fuel to get to the end, and that seems to have also cost him. Altman may be in the same boat soon. He doesn't have a whole lot extra fuel over his teammates, so Vision Cars tried to throw that at the wall, and it didn't stick into the dartboard like they had hoped. They could certainly get to the end, but meanwhile now Yoshi actually has more fuel. He's slowly, I think, actually reeling AJ in, or back in, despite the worn tires, just because he's not having to use a lower fuel mix. But Heredia is unfazed by such things. I guess that would also be part of how he lost some time on exit of the pits, because he just put all of the fuel in he could to make extra sure he didn't have such problems, and, well, lo and behold, that worked. Matt Hall, well, this is going to be a formality. There's no way Kubinski can even make another lap on that left front. He's doomed himself. That tire is going to be dead before the end of the lap. And the way that he just struggled to make the final corner is proof enough of that, I'd say. Hall does not go for it. He may already somehow be in the know that Kubinski's time is running short, with just under 5 minutes to go in the race. I mean, he can try and tough it out on those tires. They don't exactly have a puncture, but he's going to notice that he's not going to be going very fast anymore. And the only position he can stand to lose is to his teammate, who himself may not even have enough fuel to get to the checkered flag. Yeah, AJ is in, like, super fuel-saving mode. He's not actually losing time to Yoshi, but he has definitely lost many seconds to his teammate up ahead, who himself is really just kind of evening out with Heredia. So I think we've kind of got our finishing order set here, in both categories, for that matter. We're just down to Alexis Heredia to just kind of take us to the checkered flag in about 3 laps time. That is how you do math, yes. Oh, now Matt Hall has actually gotten up to the back of his teammate. I think Yoshi has also started to lose pace in his tires, but Matt Hall's still got plenty of resources with 2 to go. I think the final battle on the track today is going to be between the FR Racing Ferrari teammates. And it may not be a very long battle, depending on if Yoshi even feels like fighting it, or if he's just going to let his teammate, who clearly had more pace to begin with since he took second on the starting grid, and has just kind of had a bit of some issues in the race, but no overtake there. It seemed like Hall didn't really have the momentum he thought he did. Kubinski is still trying to survive on those dead soft tires. He's running a 37.8 on the previous lap. And you can just see he's not, the turning is gone from, like, I'm not really sure why he did that. White flag is in the air for Alexis Heredia. 49 seconds to go in the race, so some of the hypercar field won't even make it to the our 38th and final lap tonight. the Volvo one more lap down for the road. Maybe even get Robichaud in there too. Actually, might even see this could be this will be the final lap actually for GTs. The countdown will end in 20 seconds, and as you can clearly see, Itkunen is nowhere near close enough to the end of the track to start another lap. So, yeah, the Nexus has gone from winning both classes to winning neither today. It'll oh, you are not Itkunen. You are Kevin. Cursor's on the wrong person. It will be FR Racing taking the victory in the GT category with Jonas Itkunen, despite the fact that their other driver, Joel Grant, did not even qualify for the main race. The Lexus takes the checkered flag, and now we wait for a couple more turns, and Alexis Heredia will do the same thing for CL7 Racing and for, I think, Cadillac. Scott Frederick will round out, will take second. Robichaud will round out the podium for GT, and it will be a 2-3 for Vision 47 Mazda in the hypercar category. Matt Hall will eventually get ahead of his teammate Yoshi for fourth. And Kubinski goes from on top of the world at Daytona and putting on an absolute clinic to almost getting last on track in his category because his racing soft tires just ran out of life much earlier than he had anticipated, but Kevin is not going to be able to get by him as the Nexus duo come home 6-7 after, well, surely a disappointing outing here from Catalunya. That will wrap things up from the ARC Endurance Championship. Oh, it didn't show me that screen last week. I think it was supposed to, but it just was like, didn't know how. But, yeah, I'm not starving to death this time, so I can actually do interviews. I'm not sure how many interviews to do. Maybe I'll just ask that in the Discord. I am going to have to figure out how to get them in here to do that with. Do I even have all of them on my friends list? What is that username? Don't think so. Maybe they're in, like, played together somehow? I think, looks like it. Ignore my stomach. I haven't eaten yet today. Just like yesterday. I don't get hungry soon enough to consider eating before the race and, you know, risk complications with the broadcast. If I don't hear anything back in a couple of minutes from anybody about interviews, I will probably just cut the feed and be done for the day. I'll give it till 7 after or 37 after in the corner. probably do a brief outro for the sponsors at the very least, while I wait for some kind of response on to interview or not to interview. But a shout out to Sim League Pro, whom we use to manage the league, to DIVEBOMB Motorsport, our main title sponsor here in ARC. Yeah, they're the sponsor for the entire league. I had to think about that for a second. Yeah, they do the whole league. The collaborative... Oh, the host has entered the game. I'm just going to leave it on this screen. New media project written by motorsports fans, for motorsports fans, covering all motorsports the world over. They make most of the series and league in general possible as it exists these days. And then to the Racing Rats, our mod partners over on Assetto Corsa, yesterday's Assetto Corsa stream went down. I didn't look at it. I forgot. But yeah, that series over there is doing well, and it's thanks to the Racing Rats and their free car mods that allow us to have the rosters for the league that we want. But that is all from me and from the rest of AutoRacingConnected. Goodbye for now. We'll be here same time next week for more ARC Endurance Championship action. Unless I see a last-minute thing of interviews. Thank you. Is that Dablo or Dablo? Are you somebody who runs in the series, or are you just a friend of Hudson? Dablo. But, okay. Oh, there we go. Either one. Or I could just call you SV5, because I know that's like SEP. But either way, I'm not hearing anything about interviews. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that those are... Oh, AC League, I see. Oh, funny, I just mentioned that. So that, there we go. There's the lore. Good to know. But, yeah, that'll be it from me. Until next time, same thing, same place, different track.